Green's up. Black's on the ropes.
Arguably the power move of the show so far.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a really good plan. It worked.
Welcome back to the after show here on the Breakroom. This episode shows that nothing good ever happens when you get drunk and go around flying on your dragon. Anyways, hit that graphic.
Drunk dragoning.
AFTERS.
I just got Chapel Roan stuck in my head. I was like, I don't know what you're doing.
HOTTOGO.
That's right. The whole Green Council is HOTTOGO as they head to Rook's Rest to take out a tiny little building. Today we're talking about House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 4, A Dance of Dragons. Who really won this week in a brutal, brutal fight? We'll get into that and more. I'm Brandon Barrick. Joining me today, she really believes it's a sin to deny your appetites. It's Jessica Clemons.
Dracarys.
You're like, I know one thing about Game of Thrones.
I said, winter is coming.
A prince who was promised.
Prince who was promised.
Also joining us today, he's always drinking too much wine and hopping on his dragon. It's Zach Huddleston.
Hey, this castle's more crippled than I am.
Dang, dude.
What a line.
Laris with like the self-own on
He
that
had
one.
bars in this episode, dude.
Laris was like, don't get on my ass about Damon taking shitty ass Harrenhal, okay?
I can't wait for like 10 years from now when rappers put it in the beginning of their songs. When people remix it, I'm like
Kung Fu albums. And
yeah. Dude, I need it. Bring that back. Bring back that trend.
If you're using that sample, drop a link to the comment.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Give us your SoundCloud. We'll feature it. That look he gives when he says it too, like, Harrenhal. He's more crippled than I am. My leash.
My leash. Pop off those shoes. Let me see that back. Let me see them toes real quick,
See
girl.
them toes. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Do we still got Beesbury's body? I want to see his toes. As we do every week here on the After Show, we're not going to get too much into book spoilers. We're mostly going to focus, when we talk about the book, on any changes that they've made in the show. Though this episode, at the very end, we might get a little spoilery. We'll warn you ahead of time. So feel free to watch this episode if you haven't read the books. We're not going to spoil anything, but maybe we will at the very, very end. But we'll warn you. We'll warn you. Before we get to all that, Jessica, kick us off with a little bit of a recap.
The curse of Harrenhal might be real as Daemon is plagued with visions. He beheads a young Rhaenyra, sees his first wife Laena serving drinks, and even follows an eye patch wearing version of himself to Alice Rivers. We talked about her last episode, the woman who told Daemon he will die here.
You will die here. You will die here.
That's not how she sounded.
She said it. It sounds very American when she says it.
And now she's got a thick Scottish accent.
You're going to die here.
Yeah.
Maybe die here just sounds American to Scottish people.
Yeah, I think it was like a Scottish sentence that had no Scottish vowels in it. It was just like a straight,
Yeah.
You're going to die here.
I can call my ex and ask him to recite it. Either way, she's the castle's new maester by convenience. Alice questions his motives but gives him a drink to allegedly help him sleep, and it's a strong drink as it fully takes him out of it, barely conscious in the meeting with William Blackwood, who's ready to join up in arms. But a young Oscar Tully isn't ready to speak for the Riverlands and on behalf of the ailing grandsire.
I mean, first of all, when you're getting witchy vibes from a lady, you just take the cup she hands you and slams it. Don't take unidentified beverages.
I think he's What did you say?
It was a different time.
But he also had no fucking problem showing up and immediately being like, I'm not eating your cabbage with poison in it.
That's right.
But I think he was just attracted to her.
I think he doesn't like peas and he uses the poison. He's too embarrassed to admit he doesn't like peas. He thinks they're gross. They're tiny. He doesn't like them.
He sees her, no kind of food safe certification going on in the dungeons of Harrenhal either. She's licking stuff off her fingers. She's throwing shit.
But I mean, you've just had a series of very realistic dreams. And you're like, this woman's got a drink for me. I'm willing to take it. Also, she called you out. She knows you had a fight with your wife. Oh, yeah. She knows that you're on a break. That's going to come up, right? They're going to pull the old Ross and Rachel. I was on a break. We were on a break, Rhaenyra. You know, she's flirting. She's giving vibes. I think you take a drink.
I mean,
what's the worst that could happen at this point?
What was in that, too? Okay, because he basically wakes up dressed a day later.
Yeah. Jessica, you do this a lot. You have a drink and you wake up a couple days later.
What the no, I don't.
Listen,
Friday afternoon, 5:30 to Monday morning, 8 a.m. That's Jessica.
Oh shit! I gotta get this meeting.
Is it a black? It's a full blackout, brownout. Is this a brownout?
That guy was straight up. He was straight up blacked out.
He was blacked out.
He was blacked out, and I would have left Harrenhal by now. Like,
also, did he shower? Did he shave? Has
he was in a different outfit because he came down. He was in his little nightgown.
Yeah.
He walked in there, and he got his little. I wanted him to have the little stocking cap.
I wanted to have the like.
Ebenezer Scrooge.
I wanted him to have the Mike Tyson like full face tattoo. Like, oh God, what did I do?
I mean, I am fascinated. You both know a little bit more about Alice Rivers than I do, having not read the books. But like, I'm fascinated what her angle is.
Mm-hmm.
What side is she playing for? What's she trying to get out of this?
I mean, she's playing the side of time, dude. Now, Gail Rankin, the actor playing Alice Rivers, she gave an interview to Entertainment Weekly after the last episode, after episode 3, kind of talking about Alice Rivers, and she is leaning into, like, this is a mystical woman. She could be as old as 400 years. You know what I mean? So they are definitely, like, they're being very clear that this is a different, not a normal human being, right? That this is a person who has visions, who is maybe able to manipulate visions, is very mysterious, very scary, right? So yeah, this figure is important. I think it's going to be around for a while. So it'll be interesting to see how all this all plays out. And the book is very much like, we have no idea who this character is, what she is, if she's real, if she's a human, if she's a witch, if she's a blood mage. We don't know. So there's a lot of mystery in the book around here, and I'm interested to see what they kind of nail down in the show. Very Massaria? No, that's the one. Missandra?
Yes, the Red Witch or whatever.
Yeah, the Red Witch from like Game of Thrones. Like, she's giving off similar vibes.
Yeah, who could
she knows the history of Harrenhal. Was she there when that history began? I don't know.
Yeah, is she? I mean, there's almost intimations of. She mentioned all the weirwood trees that got cut down, right, to build Harrenhal. The bed that he's sleeping in is made. It's literally like
this is Poltergeist when you find out your house is on the burial ground.
Yeah, but even more, it's like you built your house on a burial ground. Also, they dug up some of the old burials and made a bed out of it.
Yeah.
But
it's part of that, just putting those ideas into Daemon's head to make him even more messed up.
And like, is it one of those of like, there's no magic here. She's just drugging everybody and playing into their fears or whatever. Right?
Sure.
She actually was poisoning the the cabbage soup, and she's like, he's not eating the soup. You won't eat the soup, but everybody else is eating the soup.
It's called carbon monoxide. Whoa.
Yeah, what if they just have asbestos?
They got a natural gas leak.
You know the black mold situation in Harrenhal is off the charts.
If it's not the rats getting you, it's the black mold. It absolutely. And honestly, I'd probably take the rats.
Yeah.
At least I know they're coming. Like, I can see them, I can hear them. Oh. Damn.
The rats are like, you're gonna die here.
The moistness of this castle. The moistness.
Yeah, I would never be at Harrenhal. It's definitely, it's haunted. 100%. Yeah. I don't care what people allege. It is haunted.
Yeah, I mean, Sir Simon Strong's like 16 years old. He looks like shit.
Damn.
This castle's aging.
Speaking of looking rough, well, you know, Sir Christian Cole's still looking pretty good out there, though.
I can't believe this guy is standing Kristen Cole.
No, I'm just saying. Hey, you don't gotta enjoy the character or his actions to agree that that's a handsome man. Okay.
I don't like him with the short hair. He looks crazy.
It is interesting, and we didn't even get like a dramatic bathroom mirror. Him cutting it off as a like, I'm a new man kind of thing. He just shows up from one scene to the next. He's got short hair.
Is that like maybe it's like the rules of the King's Guard and Queen's Guard is you can only have each other cut your hair. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, Jeremy, you do it.
Well, it's also fascinating because like there's part of you that'd be like, oh, military people tend to have short hair because it's probably more practical than long hair. But look at those Targaryens out there flying with the and the Valerians. All of them just got the long
You're gonna cut that hair,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. They're not worried about it. Anyways, Kristen Cole has tripled the size of his forces since leaving King's Landing. He, you know what? Say what you will about him. He's kind of a doofus in court. But he's making moves out there on the battlefield.
We do forget, like, the first season, it was really established early on, like, he's an excellent fighter, you know.
A good leader of soldiers, yes.
A good enough leader of soldiers. Yeah, he's a military man. This is where he shines. He's not a good hand to the king.
No.
Not at all. But he's a great military guy.
And we see him brutally behead the lead of House Darklin, who calls him Kingmaker, which, you know, kind of harkens back to Kingslayer.
Sure, there's like Kinslayer and Kingslayer are bad things, right? Even though for Jaime it was a good thing, Jaime Lannister, though he hated the term Kingslayer because he had to betray his own oath to be.
Well, and that was kind of a negative term this is kind of a positive term, but could also have a negative connotation.
Right, and Lord Darkland says it and like spits at him.
Yes.
And he's called Kingmaker, right? Because remember, he crowned Aegon.
Yeah.
So like in the books, that's like his thing too.
Of course, you know, half of these people think that's a usurper, so it's like, well, I'm not really about it. Anyways, we later learn this was the father of Rhaenyra's guard in King's Landing. The poor guy had to cosplay as a monk.
Yeah. When he finds out, brutal.
Oh,
he's like, my dad, and they're like, listen, your dad was so loyal they chopped his fucking head off.
Also, dad looked about 58, son looked about 51.
Well, yeah, 100%.
What is the generation gap on those Darklings? Okay.
I just want to say I thought it was so cool that scene when they're infiltrating King's Landing and you see him slide the knife back in.
Yeah.
Damn, this dude's so cool. And then he's like, my dad died. I'm like, oh man.
I want more. I want more of that guy. I will say, like, I don't want to get off on a digression, but like something I would like more of in House of the Dragon are Bronn type characters.
Yeah, I love
You know what I mean? Like kind of badass buddies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who might be like good soldiers and you can't wait for them to get into some combat or something like that. I feel like there's especially when losing Eric and Arik, we're kind of low on little badass side characters.
We'll see. Maybe Sir Stefan Darkland will step it up and get a good little sequence.
We already know he's a master of disguise.
Master of robes.
Master of disguise, he doesn't
He
wear
was
a
like
hood.
still wearing the Septon outfit too. He's like, what? My dad changed.
She changed.
She changed. Stefan's like, can I just put my armor back on? She's like, no, we don't have time for that. We don't have
No, he
time.
likes it.
Yeah, I do love that. She's like, I would never appear in front of my court dressed like a.
I'm not gonna dress like a Septon for the,
What am I, an
Black
idiot?
Council.
Would you say he's too turtly for the Turtle Club?
Ooh, maybe.
yeah.
Too turtle.
Gwaine Hightower out here. You know, I like Gwaine. All he does is bitch, man.
He's a fancy boy. He comes from a very rich family in Old Town. He's the Hightower. He's a fancy boy.
The constant shade at Kristen Cole, dude. I know you weren't born near here, but that's not the right direction to Harrenhal.
I mean, he just had to participate in like an utter slaughtering of
he's
the
got blood on his
That's
face.
so funny.
And he's
Dude.
like, can we just get to Harrenhal already?
But it was him bitching the entire time, and then Chris Cole being right, and him being like, and then finally he's like, come on, please, I'm sorry. I was getting so tired of Gwaine with that stupid name and his stupid face.
I know. They purposely make him kind of a
Yeah, he's like a little weird.
It's funny because I feel like when he appeared to me, I was like, oh, he's supposed to be more of like a knight's knight. He's
Right.
not like, you know, he's not part of the Queen's Guard. He's like kind of like one with the guys.
He's a
and, you know,
gentry, right?
Yes,
He's like
yeah,
from a big
Yeah,
house.
but if you're gonna act like a big dick, don't be an asshole. Because he
he's-
showed up immediately like, you
But
just
he's
throw my
like,
dad.
in a modern military parlance, he's a guy who like went to military school, went to officer training, never served as a grunt. Whereas, you know, Kristen Cole as a Dornish man of no stature had to work his way from the bottom. He's been in the trenches. He's been slitting throats since day one.
Well, I also love it. It's a nice move by the show to like, if you start hating too hard on Kristen Cole, you're gonna be like, well, but look at this asshole.
Look at this little bitch over here.
Well, though I do love, I guess, to tease a question for the end, that voice you hear at the very end when kind of the gates are down at Rook's Rest, like, fall in behind me. Do we assume that's Gwaine?
Yeah, that was. I think that's
Yeah.
to be Gwaine like charging.
So the irony of, in the end, he gets the kind
gets
of
the
credit
glory.
for
He
the
gets the
victory,
glory.
kind of. He'll be the one that gets to charge
Yeah.
into the castle or whatever. But so he thinks they're heading to Harrenhal, but of course he doesn't know the full story. Instead of Harrenhal, Cole decides to march on Rook's Rest in conjunction with Aemon Targaryen, which is the seat of House Staunton. Lord Simon Staunton sits on Rhaenyra's castle. Aegon is confused. He says, come on, take Harrenhal, it's bigger,
Yeah.
yada, yada, yada. I'm drunk.
cries about it.
Aemon admits he's had a little side plan going on with Sir Kristen Cole. That harkens back all the way to episode 1, right? Pre-Blood and Cheese. Him
When
and
Otto caught them and he's like, you guys conspiring?
all their
What's going
little
on?"
coins
Yeah.
and that little coin that he's been playing
He's
with ever
still
since.
rolling around, yeah.
Yeah. They've had a little side quest going the whole time. And he puts the king in his place by speaking High Valyrian to him. Also, I love that he again, Aemon does, all the fancy, very fluent High Valyrian. Aegon basically comes back with Donde está la biblioteca?
Yeah. I can has war, please. I can has war, please.
He hasn't even taken the time to learn High Valyrian.
I mean,
dude.
my man Aemon calls his little Kingsguard buddy a lick spittle in High Valyrian, which is just like insult on top of insult.
I love Aemon too much. It's a problem.
Now, I will say this move by Aemon, while he's like big dicking on his brother, right, in the council meeting, it kind of almost screws him over in the end. Because if he didn't do all this, Aegon wouldn't have kept drinking all day and been like, I'm going to go to war, and almost ruined the whole plan, right? Yeah. This was like a ballsy move by
It's also wild to think that, like, part of their plan was had to keep the Vaghar of it all secret.
Right.
Yeah, 100.
Couldn't even tell his own people about the Vaghar part of it, which is also, like, beggars belief, like, that giant-ass dragon, you're just going to sneak him out and nobody's going to notice that the world's biggest dragon is laying in wait?
He's now listening. I hate that shot of him being like, not yet, and Vaghar laying down, and I'm like, because I literally was like, Vaghar was just like, I don't want to get up yet.
You know how long it takes you to get my neck up?
Yeah, I know Vaghar was like, bitch, you're not controlling me. I'm just tired.
I got gas. I got so much gas.
I hope you know.
Yeah, it's like a fun kind of throwaway line when in the council meeting where they're like, yeah, we can't keep feeding Vaghar. I'm like, what do you mean you can't keep feeding Vaghar? But it's like, yeah, to get Vaghar all the way out there, just staying hidden.
Right.
Do you think that's the rule with, like, feeding dragons? Because, like, you would think just their base metabolism, they have to eat a lot no matter what. Or do you think, like, riding them a lot makes them need to eat more?
Yeah.
I think base metabolism, I think you're right that, like, they have to eat a lot. I'm sure when they're in action, because a lot of times they're like in the dragon pit just chilling.
Well,
right?
I think the real issue is the blockade.
Yeah.
Right? I think normally they don't have a problem feeding on plenty because they can import it all.
Yeah.
But now they can't import it, so that's why it's
And plus, like, King's Landing is set up to have all these dragons in it, and they got a system. When you're out in the wild, you're like knocking on, Darkland's doors being like, hey, I know we just slaughtered you and everything, but we also need 1,000 of your sheep.
It's one of my favorite all-time classic rock songs, Knocking on Darkland's Door.
Knock, knock, knocking on Darkland's door. Hey, help!
It's in last week's episode, a conversation between Rhaenyra and Alicent has gotten in Alicent's head. She's like asking everybody she comes in contact with, hey, what do you think Viserys really wanted? She's going through history books. She's doing it all.
Yeah.
And sipping that moon tea, okay?
Which, my girl.
Which, now, that...
You got to throw away the bottle after you drink the tea.
Just open, sitting there. Now, it doesn't have, like, a label on it.
Yeah.
But he knows. Larys knows.
Do they only make moon tea in this thing?
Is there like, a headache tea?
It's like, hey, remember, there was a Starbucks cup in Game of Thrones. Can we get that? So they don't know? They don't know what's in the cup?
And now
throw it away, girl.
I'm right in assuming that she doesn't, or she feels like she might be pregnant with Kristen Coles.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely heavily implied. She grabs her stomach. Yeah. She's using the hot stone. She's going through the motions. Whether or not she's like worried she is or think she already is and needs to deal with it. Yeah.
She remember when she used to be having those maids drink it all the
Yes.
time? This ain't nothing new. But I also feel like this isn't her first time. But I think with everything else that's happening, the revelation that maybe her son actually wasn't supposed to be king, she can't stop him. Her dad's gone. She's like, I'm just gonna leave it out. Like, I'm just gonna leave it here. I'm dealing with everything.
Yeah. She also doesn't expect Larys to come into her room or anything like that.
Also, what the is he gonna do? I'm sorry. I got only mad about it because I was like, even if he tells everybody, it's like no one really cares about her anymore because she's not like
she's just the
mom
now.
Yeah,
she's not cheating on anybody or anything like that. I mean, in theory, she's allowed to do whatever she wants. But
I mean, Cole's cheating on his oath and should be killed for it.
So it's more on him than
which, speaking, the ever-evolving relationship between Larys and Alicent, right? Like, that used to be a mutually beneficial one.
Sure.
Now it seems a little bit more adversarial. They're not really sharing secrets with each other. And in fact, she's kind of trying to keep him at a distance while he kind of prods for information. And I love the line that ends their interaction. The significance of Viserys' intentions died with him.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter why you made the choice. And it doesn't really matter if it was a confusion. All the things are set in place now, right?
Yeah, Alicent's definitely, feeling the weight of what Rhaenyra said to her. She's looking through all these books to see, is there any mention of a prophecy, like, anywhere? Like, I think that's part of the reason she's looking into all of this. And, like, Larys right here, I don't know. I wonder if he knows about this Rhaenyra Alicent meeting. Because there was a moment when, like, Asepta walked up to the table while they were talking and then, like, walked away. And I was like, this guy's got eyes and ears everywhere. Does he already have, like, a Septa that was always watching Alicent every time she was in the cathedral?
Yeah, they do.
Just to, like, keep eyes on her. And, like, he might know more than he's letting on here. I also think he's very smart. He's playing... Yes, Aegon holds all the power right now, but it's like, Alicent still has a little sway over Aegon every now and then, and you never know. So he's just keeping his options open. Plus, he wants to see them little piggies again. Just dying to see them little piggies. Come on, baby. I tried to draw them from memory, and it's not as good as a sloppy photo. Just step on the ground with some wet feet one time.
It's just one of those drawings where like all the toes are
It's like a turkey when you put your hand on it. He's drawing an outline of his own foot.
We got a lot of dragon foot. I don't want to skip ahead. We got a lot of dragon foot imagery.
Ooh, a lot of
this
dragon
one.
feet action.
Stomping on dudes.
Scratching bellies.
Ripping bellies up.
Bellies.
Yeah, dude.
Well, later Aegon catches Alicent looking in his room for Viserys' books. He tries to ask her for some motherly advice, and she's like, basically, you're an idiot. And kind of takes him to task. The best thing for him to do right now is nothing. She's so sick of his BS. Mm-hmm. If you don't remember from season 1, she basically told him she hates him.
Yeah.
Do what
Slapped him.
Do what is needed of you.
And do nothing. I mean...
When she was like, of course you would burn those books. He's like, I didn't burn them, Mom. I gave them away.
I didn't burn Daddy's book.
Also, I think it was in this conversation, or maybe it was in the Laris conversation, I was reminded, she was like, the king's only been dead for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It's like,
She said that. I forgot what conversation it was too. She did say that, and I remember being like, "Oh my God, it's only
happened in a couple weeks."
It's been a couple weeks. It's been very quick.
Luke was alive like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's why, and it feels like people are like, Rhaenyra, get over it. And she's like, it's been 7 days. My son died 7 days ago.
They're so eager to go to war, and she's just like, can we just all take a break?
And it makes more sense now, and I hate it more than anything because it's not really, not in a bad way, but it's not captured in the show well enough for the audience to remember that it's only
we
been
had
2
such
weeks.
a big break between the two seasons.
Yeah, but the fan base will, like, it takes a minute to be like, oh yeah, I forget that it is only been 2 weeks.
And there was the huge time jump in the middle of season 1.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's really been
There's several time jumps in season 1.
Yes, right. As like we would jump from like babies being born to being grown men almost, right? Like, but then there's been almost no time has transpired so far this season.
And I think going forward, we're gonna be on a pretty tight time scale. It's also weird. I mean, and this was the problem in Game of Thrones, where it's like they're going all over. Not all over the continent. They're staying in a region of Westeros. But it's like they can get to places fast, and you forget they're in different locations.
Yes. Well, it's also, I mean, as evidenced by 1,000 people bringing up where the hell is Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
When you're not on a dragon, it takes you a while to move around.
Yeah, it takes a minute. Well, Rhaenys visits Corlys at the dry dock and has an interesting moment with Alan, where she says, "I know who he is," to Corlys. Wonder what that's all about. I know what that's all about. I mean, yeah, this is like a pretty heartbreaking moment where she meets Alan on the boat, on the Sea Snake, which is Corlys' name for himself and also for his boat. She realizes, I think it's pretty clear in their conversation that she's aware Corlys has at least one bastard son. It was probably a thing where it's like, hey, you're going to be out on the boat. Do your thing, you know, I can't be there all the time, whatever. But then, like, it's several charged lines where she meets him. She can see in his face probably Corlys, right? Mm-hmm. So she's like, oh, this is Alan. I know who this is, right? And she also has that line, which, like, your mother must have been very beautiful, which is just tragic because she knows the sea snake's out there laying a snake, and a pretty lady doesn't like that. And then she's even pissed because all of their natural children are dead. And it's like, this is one of your kids.
Or thought to be dead.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. This is one of your kids. You're hanging out with him.
Yeah.
You're having a great time with him. I don't think he doesn't know what's up. I don't think he knows at all. You're keeping him on this boat, putting him in danger. He saved your fucking life.
And you're not publicly acknowledging him.
You won't give him like a lordship or something. Give him something. Instead, you're going to make him go back out there and risk his life again. You won't let your granddaughter be the Lord of Driftmark, but you're hanging around with this dude all the time. She's fucking pissed.
If he could give just like the fraction of the love that he gave like Luke
to
his actual child.
I mean, he's trying with Luke. Like, he made a dagger for Luke.
It's a good point.
He loved Luke.
Yeah.
He loved Luke. He does not like his actual child.
He acknowledges that Joffrey will be Lord of the Tides. He doesn't like it, but like... And she's like, let Bela be Lord of the
Corlys
Tides.
is an interesting case study, just an interesting character, because he's old school in so many ways, right? Like, a lot of these older generation lords, right? Like, obviously there's some sexism, right? He's favoring men in general, but also he favors legal heirs versus actual biological heir, right? Like, this guy's his literal blood, whereas we all know them strong boys weren't. There's 0 drops
What were they?
of Valyrian.
Bastards!
And
then he got that line. That man said, "I'm getting
I went back and watched it again. I was like, God, it's so good.
It's so good."
And then he's like, I'll cut out your tongue. And David's like, you can keep his tongue. So good. So good. Well, at Dragonstone, the Black Council grows nervous as they haven't heard from Daemon, and Rhaenyra disappeared without informing them. But Corlys and Rhaenys tell everyone to chill out. Okay? We're mommy and daddy here. You're going to do what we say. And this kind of tracks with the book. In the book, when Luke died, Rhaenyra kind of stayed in her room for like a couple weeks and basically told Corlys and Rhaenys, like, you guys are running the war council right now. I'm going to go cry in my room for a little while. But I like how the book, in the show, she didn't really assign anyone this job. She's kind of doing her thing. And they're kind of keeping things moving, you know.
When news reaches Dragonstone of Cole marching on Rook's Rest, Rhaenyra conveniently returns. Ooh.
And Jason's like pissed.
Yeah,
He's
oh my.
so mean to her.
Jason's so, no.
Where have you been, my queen?
Okay, I understand it's been only 2 weeks, but also rightfully so. They are scattered. They're all over the place. Yeah. They're like, I hope you know that we don't have leadership here when he's gone and you're gone. Like, what's going on?
Why is this man dressed like a septon? Also, your dad's dead.
He said, I'm not taking it off.
I like it. I'm naked under here, and my balls feel great. The metal codpiece is destroying my nuts.
She conveniently returns, and now she's ready to fight. But it is ultimately decided that Rhaenys will fly to Rook's Rest with Meleys to put down Cole's forces. We get a great montage as the armies on each side ready themselves, and Rhaenyra explains to Jace that now war is the only option to prevent the Song of Ice and Fire, and presumably tells him about Aegon's dream.
Now he knows.
Now he knows. And thank God, because I was getting so mad at one point. I was like, tell someone else, because when you die and Alicent dies, no one will know. And write it in a book.
When Viserys told Rhaenyra, he was like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I should have told you this a long time ago."
Yeah.
And she's doing the same thing with Jay. It's like, you have to tell the heirs.
You have to tell them. Your heir just needs to know. That's like immediately tell the heir. Yeah. Immediately tell the heir, just in case. You don't know when a dragon's gonna swoop through and pick you up. Either way. And who else gets ready for the fight but Aegon, who is also kind of drunk.
Yeah, dog.
The audacity.
Drinking.
Like, I'm gonna hop on this giant animal and fly across the country.
No one can tell him no.
Yeah.
No one can tell
him no.
I did like when Sunfyre gave him a little nuzzle. When he goes into Sunfyre and he's like, let's go, baby, let's go.
They're like dogs. I never blame, except for Vaghar.
Vagar's a cat. Vagar's not a dog. Vagar's a cat.
Vaghar is a cat. And I love him, but no one else should. But regardless, I mean, he suffers the consequences of his actions for getting drunk, for showing up when he was not supposed to. No. If my mom would have told me do exactly what a king is supposed to do is nothing, I would have laid back, chilled, waited for the small folk to kill me one day. I would have been like...
He's got a great life. He can go buy around in the tavern, whore it up, do whatever he wants. I mean...
Easy.
So Cole's forces are many. He's built out a pretty nice army for himself. And despite getting mowed down by Roost's archers, they make nice headway before... Who's that in the sky? Meleys coming in, scorching them. But who's laying in wait? Aegon's over there. Aegon swoops in like the dumb guy late to the party. Hey! Not knowing what he's doing, instantly gets KO'd. Yeah.
He had no idea Meleys would be there. He's totally taken by surprise.
Really ruins the pretty well thought out plan that Aemond and Cole had going on.
Yeah.
But of course, Vaghar, the ultimate WMD, weapons of mass dragon, swoops in and repels Rhaenys and Meleys. My question here, in this battle, it seemed like, they kind of skirmish, there's some blows are exchanged. Rhaenys could have left.
Well, Meleys keeps trying to leave.
Yeah, she
keeps turning. Because Meleys is like looking back like, hey, we cannot win this fight.
Now, was that, do you think, it's not spoken, there's some great acting, and it's mostly conveyed via actions in this sequence. Does Rhaenys want to die, or does she think she can win?
Man, that is a tough call, because they've done a lot of great work with Rhaenys. Especially when you go back through season 1 again, and she really rides the fence for a long time. Smartly, she's kind of seeing who's going to win out.
She wanted the crown too, right?
Yeah. She's almost Team Green for a while, and that kind of last couple episodes, she warns Rhaenyra. She's like, they're going to make a move, and you're going to be caught by surprise here by the Greens, and you're going down. And she kind of like enjoys a little bit because she didn't get to get the crown, and I think she was like, I kind of like seeing Rhaenyra fail here, who thinks she's better than me. But ultimately, in this situation, I think she knows, like, this is it. The cat's out of the bag. The dragons are out of the box. They're not going back in. I can leave this fight, but I think she was like, I'm just going to see this through. And I think she is brokenhearted. Her kids are dead. She's
not going to be
Corlys is going to go back to war, and he's not listening to her.
Well, and like, as a dragon rider and in the Civil War, there's a decent chance no matter what, you end up dead.
Yeah.
Right?
It makes you, she has too much respect. And if
I don't think
if she ran away, it wouldn't look good.
Yeah.
But also, Vaghar would probably catch up. Her dragon got injured. Because at one point, she turns around. She's like, nah, we're just going to go.
Yeah.
We're going to go.
I think she wants to do as
2v1.
much damage as she can. And, I think wants to die in battle. I think wants to have like an honorable death fighting for her cause.
It's honorable, and it still makes them look good. Because for a minute, it made me realize, they haven't been rallying behind their allies, and they have dragons. I was like, Team Green or Team Black, you need to get your shit together.
Lord Starn's just watching his castle get effed up here.
But luckily, seeing Rhaenys die was probably a lot for the allies to be like, oh, they went to war for us. They lost a dragon and a person.
Right.
Yeah.
I am still standing behind Rhaenyra.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and it is interesting. I mean, maybe the show will get into this. In general, it feels like it's being portrayed as like, big bang, take a little bank. The bigger dragon will always win.
Yeah.
But obviously, Rhaenys was a much more experienced
she
rider than Aemond in this situation. And like, Vaghar so old, so big. You would think, I mean, kind of the way that she outmaneuvered Aemond, she could do some stuff like that
She's got a speed
Vaghar
advantage.
too, right? So maybe she was like not trying to die, but
No, I think she was trying to do her best here. And like, Aegon's there. She had a shot to take down Aegon.
And she was going good with Aegon. If it was 1v1 with Aegon, she would have won.
Yeah.
She absolutely won.
They messed up Sunfyre. Sunfyre was not ready for that fight.
And she got a nice death. It is absolutely badass that when dragons crash, they explode.
The explosions of fire.
Like
Ooh,
like a car going off a cliff. That is badass.
Like Simpsons rules. Anything that flips over catches on fire. Just like seeing Sunfyre go down in the woods and then
Corlys doesn't think any of this is cool or fun, you guys.
That's true.
Corlys is like, can we get a boat out here? Let me bring a boat.
And then there's a theme in this episode of like male characters being kind of zonked out, right? Whether it's Daemon on Witch's Brew, Aemond on Dornish Wine, or now Sir Criston Cole being cold-cocked off his horse and like kind of waking up dazed on the battlefield.
Cold-cocked?
Criston Cole-cocked?
It is a little Saving Private Ryan, right? Waking up on the bridge.
With the buzzing of sound.
I love touching the armor of just ashes. Like, great. Hey, you gotta get up, buddy. Oh, buddy. I also liked when Aegon first showed up and he was like, okay, I can use this. He's like, your king is here to fight with you. And they're like, yeah, let's go. And Gwen's like, shit, this is bad.
And also, like, a bunch of those people, like, had just submitted. Like, they don't really, like, they're his king in practice.
I've been in the king's army for a week. But and then he goes over, and this is a moment we will come back to. He finds Aemon's already there. He's gotten the Song of Ice and Fire dagger that we know none of these characters make it to Game of Thrones, but that knife does.
That knife does make it.
He's already got that, and he's kind of looking down on the giant carcass.
Yeah.
And Cole says, where's the king? And he nods over there, and we see the king's body. We see a kind of wheezing dragon.
Yes, labored breathing.
Yes, we don't know the health status of either of those.
No, we don't. And we won't talk about that yet.
But Aegon just being like, or Aemond being like, my brother's
over there.
my half-dead brother is over there.
I'm gonna be over here. I'll get you guys later.
We're peacing out.
Gotta get these clothes off.
He's like, yeah, CPR doesn't exist in Westeros. They don't need me for nothing. I'm gonna head out over
Cole's
here.
like, you're leaving brother here? Yeah, I'm good fuck.
I don't.
He laughed at me with my dick out the other day, so I'm like, I don't give two fucks.
If anything, I'm doing him a favor and I go over there and pull his pants down.
Wait, I was watching. Oh, that's pretty big.
Lay down, Flop.
He's like, damn.
Go, pull him up.
Now that's a pink dragon right there. You know what I'm talking about?
Damn, that's the Vaghar.
That's where my season 1 heads right out there.
That's the Vaghar pants dragons right there.
Stop.
Okay.
Stop.
So we're gonna revisit what's up with Aegon, what's up with Sunfyre, who's dead, who's living, all of that kind of stuff. But first, we want to shout out a couple of the sponsors that help us bring the show to you. Check out. Everybody has one of these in their desk, right?
Boom.
Giant sword!
How'd you pull that out from under there?
Very carefully. I had it keistered the whole time.
Oh, no.
This is from our friends over at minikatana.com. They have this kind of House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones inspired, cool, big old medieval looking sword. They have a lot of katanas inspired by anime and different things like that. They also make these fun little katana pens. This really writes. I use this on my desk all the time. It looks like a little katana. We've got a lot of cool, fun products over at minikatana.com. If you use our discount code, there it is, code New Rockstars, you can get 15% off at checkout from all the fun stuff they sell, including they've got clothing, candy, a bunch of different stuff. Check out minikatana.com or click the link in this video's description. Also, we want to shout out Magic Spoon. Brandon, do you have a Magic Spoon?
I got one keistered right here. Oh, put it in sideways. That was the first mistake.
That's a Magic Spoon. Of course, Magic Spoon, you've heard about them. We've talked about them before. They make healthier versions of the kind of cereal you loved as a kid. This is their peanut butter flavor. I'm also a big fan of their chocolate and their frosted varieties. Each serving has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. It's only 140 calories per serving. That's way better than the less healthy versions of those same types of cereals. These are really popular around our office. Anytime we get a shipment of these from the folks at Magic Spoon,
they're gone.
Everybody's claiming them. Everybody's taking them home, eating them. They're keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free. So head to magicspoon.com/breakroom and use code breakroom for $5 off your first order. Don't forget to use our promo code, both to save you some money and to give us credit for sending sales their way. And they're backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to start your day right with a delicious bowl of high-protein cereal, magicspoon.com/breakroom, and use our code breakroom to save $5.
Before we get into our big questions from this episode, it's time for everyone's favorite segment, Let Her Cook.
Yes.
Does anyone have a favorite Allison scene?
She had
where
some
Olivia
nice
Cook really...
ones. Especially this was a low Rhaenyra episode.
Right.
She wasn't around for most of it.
Sure.
So it was like really like, I feel like Allison got a little bit more oxygen for this episode. I mean, the Larys scene, the Aegon scene were 2 nice ones.
Yeah, they were really good.
Even the little interaction with the Maester, where she's kind of being guarded. Oh, I'll let that unidentified woman know,
like trying
right?
to pump him for knowledge, like, did you hear what the king had to say last day? And he's like, nah, I don't have to. Leave me out of it.
Why are you asking?
Leave me out of it. I just write in the book. I really liked her. I mean, like, again, this show's showing, like, the women have the strength to get it done in this world. Like, she's literally giving herself a miscarriage, putting hot stones on her stomach, and has to deal with this fucking pervert Larys, giving her a hard time, up her ass right now. And she's like, you know what? I don't give a hell what my husband said. It doesn't matter. We're in a war now. Get the fuck out of my room.
And we'll talk about this again in a second, but like she's kind of isolated in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Nobody's really on her side.
Especially with Otto gone. It's just
Otto's gone, and she always had a tough relationship with him anyways, but like none of her sons are really siding with her. Yeah. Larys was her ally. Cole, even though she's kind of banging him, he's more in Camp Aegon than he is in
fighting
Camp
right
Alicent.
now. They're
Even like you could make an argument, maybe Gwaine might be your closest ally. They seem to be on good terms, but he's out there in the field with Cole, right? Yeah.
Plus, he's a fancy boy. What do we think Corlys is going to do now with like Rhaenys dead? What do we think his next move is going to be? He's probably going to be pretty pissed off, right?
Yeah.
Because at first, Jace tried to go into this battle. Then Rhaenyra was trying to go in, and they're like, no, you're not going. And then Rhaenys has to step up, go in there, and now Rhaenys is dead. Now, granted, they didn't know any dragons were there. They thought this would be an easy peasy, burn the armies, fly back home. Turned out to be not that much. But is Corlys going to defect from the blacks over there? Is this going to piss him off that much?
I don't think he's going to go to the blacks, or I don't think he's going to go to the greens, but I do think he's going to blame the blacks. For everything.
Do you think he'll blame Rhaenyra specifically for this?
Yeah, 100%, because Rhaenyra's son could have gone. And I mean, I'm not trying to say, hey, send your other child to go get slaughtered, but I think he's like, I've lost everyone.
Right.
You just sent my granddaughter to the Vale. Like, my son who was married to you is now gone. My daughter died by dragon due to your husband and uncle, your uncle husband. your husband. But
Uncle.
It makes more sense. I took the H out of husband.
You were just like, husband. Husband.
Your husband. I feel like he's just lost everything, and the last thing he had was his wife, and that was like his true love, even when they're in bed together, just talking, and she's now gone. So he's gonna be like, you did all of this.
Well, couldn't you say though that like by that same logic, maybe he's more pissed than ever at the Greens?
Yeah, that's true.
I think he's just gonna take his anger right now. Again, time works so weirdly in this show. 2 weeks feels like 5 years. So one day will feel like a month for us.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be like, oh, he's over it by eventually.
Do we get a big sea battle?
I think so. I mean, this will definitely like push him back out to the ocean, right? He's gonna be like, nah, screw this. Let me handle the oceans right now.
I'm not a dragon guy. I'm a ship guy. Let me get out and do my ship thing. Right?
It would just be his granddaughter and him. That's the only two people left over there with Rhaenyra right now. So it's like once he leaves, it's just the granddaughter who already has a dragon. Right. So it's like, what am I really losing? She loves flying
the dragon around. So
she has Jace. Yeah, she has Jace. So it's like he's like.
I wonder if he'll like press for them to be more offensive at sea and like do a sea attack on King's Landing or something. Just like, fire at them from the coastline or something. I don't know.
Or it might bring him closer to Alan. He'll be like, I lost my entire family. Might as well kindle this since this was the last thing Rhaenys wanted me to kind of do.
Yeah, and I do like the juxtaposition in this episode of like, Daemon calling Alice Rivers a bastard when he learns her last name. And her retort being like, well, I'm not that bad once you get to know me or something like that. It's just like the juxtaposition of like that bastard versus like Alan, right? He has no idea who he is and what he means to certain people. So yeah, I do think Corlys might like lean more on Alan and be like, hey, you want to go out for a drink or something? Thanks for saving my life. Hey, how you doing? You need a little money? A little walk around money, huh, buddy? Hey, give me a couple coins.
I look like you when I was younger. What? No, nothing. I was just drunk.
Hey, no reason, but I missed last Christmas. I just wanted to make sure you got a gift. Let's talk about the Song of Ice and Fire, this like important prophecy, right? So this, again, not in the books. All this stuff is new. Rhaenyra shares the Song of Ice and Fire to Jace. But I want to proposition something here. I was really curious when Aemon at the end of the episode, he's playing around with the Valyrian steel dagger, which we know if you expose it to flames, it has the prophecy written on it, right? We saw that happen in season 1.
And there's literally fire
everywhere,
burning all around them.
And in this episode, they remind us that Aemon is very fluent in High Valyrian, which is what the prophecy is written on the dagger. I thought for sure he was going to stick it in the fire and see the prophecy right there.
But how does he even know to do that?
Well, he wouldn't know to do it, but he's just fucking around near a fire already. Now, he ostensibly walks away with this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if this season he's going to discover the prophecy on this dagger.
Yeah.
Which will be crazy, because again, not in the book, and we don't know what that means going forward. So I think it's like really interesting that he's holding the dagger.
I love the symbolism of that dagger. And also like we've already seen even in this show, and we know continues in Game of Thrones, how like the ownership of that dagger changes so much, right? But I also like the symbolism of like, he doesn't take a crown from Aemon. He doesn't really want a crown. No. He'd rather have a fighting instrument. He wants to be a badass soldier, right? So he takes the dagger.
Well, and like Aegon's always walking around with it. I think he likes just like, now I have it.
I want it. Give it to me.
I'm gonna show this to my lady at the pillow house.
They get my knife.
But it is also like how everyone's brought up and how like Aemon was completely bullied the entire time and now he's the strong one. Mm-hmm. So he's probably like, I don't believe in this fucking fairy tale. Even if he sees like what is on the dagger, he's gonna be like, oh, that mythical thing?
Oh, that
cool.
Nonsense?
Let me stab someone to death. That's actual fear. Because it's also, that's the thing, is like Viserys had all this whimsy and all these beliefs and like a whole
omens
heart.
And portents.
Yeah, he was like a good guy. And it's like, well, the further you guys go in history, people are just gonna be more and more sad and they're gonna lose that faith. Yeah. They're gonna lose it.
I also think this prophecy, now that Alicent is aware there is a prophecy and her husband's like last words were quoting that, according to Rhaenyra, like, I don't know how much Alicent believes that it's real, but she's definitely looking around in the history books. She's trying to find evidence of it. She's not going to find it because we know it's not written in those books. This is like an oral tradition among the Targaryen leaders. But I'm wondering if her looking around in these histories is going to reveal information to her that she can use in this war in an interesting way.
Yeah.
Not something that happens in the book, but because they've introduced this idea, and I think they're looking to give Alicent more to do, I'm wondering if she discovers something, either an old battle strategy, or similar to how Cersei discovered that there was dragonfire underneath the Sept. Like something like that could really turn the tide of the
Because what
story.
have they also shown? Rhaenyra, when she met with
she's always looking at
Asaria,
scrolls too.
She was going through the library of Dragonstone. And even way back in the day when they were friends, right? They used to sit under the weirwood trees and read books and stuff like that, right? Yeah, they're both students of history. And, one being married and one being the child of Viserys, who loved his history, right? Like, I do think there's got to be a reason they keep showing.
Yeah, I think she's gonna find something, and maybe she will find more about the prophecy. Maybe Viserys did write something down at some point in his secret little diaries.
He's just like,
yeah. He was like Gossip King.
Jokes on you. It was actually in my little town that you destroyed.
Oh, it was in the town. He cut it up.
We also want to thank the podcast A Better Paradise Volume 1 and Aftermath. You've heard us talking about this cool neo-noir show for a while now. It's an immersive sci-fi thriller audio drama and the very first story in an expansive new universe from its absurd ventures. It's set in the near future. A Better Paradise tells the story of the ill-fated development of an ambitious but addictive digital game world project led by inventor and psychologist Dr. Mark Tyburn, who's played in the show by Andrew Lincoln from The Walking Dead and other things. And of course, when you're doing some neo-noir, darker sci-fi, that AI, it goes bad, baby.
Give me that story about a good AI already.
And so, it's a mystery. It's obviously got heavy sci-fi elements, crime kind of thriller, mystery stuff. It's really cool. It's created and written by Dan Houser, the lead writer of the Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption series, and directed by his longtime creative partner, Laszlo. Better Paradise is out now and available everywhere you get your podcast. Go listen today, and don't forget to follow A Better Paradise on your platform of choice to make sure you never miss an episode. And, of course, check out our friends over at nerdriot.shop, where you could get this House of the Dragon inspired design. Brandon's got one of our Star Wars inspired designs. It's a don't tell them, but it's a Bass Pro Shop parody with Admiral Akbar.
Oh no!
If you're from Bass Pro Shops, don't come for us.
Don't come for us.
You're allowed to do this. It's parody.
It's parody, baby.
The People versus Larry Flynn. It's parody, baby.
And some really cool Deadpool designs. Order now, and you can wear it opening night of Deadpool. I know you got your tickets. Get all that and more at nerdriot.shop. I want to get to the spoilery part.
Let me get to the spoilery part. Okay.
What is
So this is a
Aegon-
spoiler warning. We're going to maybe
Spoiler
discuss what happens in the book regarding the end of this episode.
Yeah. So, Aemond, nobody does a hand to throw.
So
we
I
don't
will
get
say-
a pulse count or anything like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Is Aegon alive or dead? Aegon alive or dead there at the end?
Aegon, spoiler, he survives this incident. Now he is severely injured from this incident, and that plays out for the rest of his life. So to the extent of his injuries here, I don't know. And now, again, they might have killed him. I don't know. It would be a bold departure from the book if he dies here. I think the fact that they showed Sunfyre still breathing, and the fact that they have made that connection between riders and their dragons and stuff, I think it's insinuating the dragon lives, the king is still alive.
They're both
but barely,
maimed.
but severely injured.
So does Sunfyre also live?
Sunfyre survives, but is not
fights again.
100% ever again.
Yeah.
And
So-
I don't believe Aegon ever flies again.
I do think that. That math is interesting because was this a dragon for a dragon? Did both sides equally lose here, or
No, because Meleys is an old dragon who had seen combat. Meleys was owned by Daemon and
Mom.
Viserys' mother. So a very important dragon that was powerful and had seen combat, which most of these dragons have not, besides Vaghar, and some old dragons that still exist that are in the Dragon Keep. But most of the children's dragons of both Rhaenyra and Alicent, they were born with the children. So it's Sunfyre had never seen combat before. So he's probably we're playing, my belly's ripped open. Oh God. I also love his gut juice burns
I hate
people.
it.
It's acid almost.
like xenomorphs or whatever.
I also
right?
love Vaghar just stomping on
I
people.
didn't. For some reason, maybe I love animals too much. I could not stand when the dragons started attacking each other.
It's very
I was rip the human off. I was kill the human.
It was very
Get rid of
bird
them.
fighting too, where
Yeah,
they're
'cause they're
using their
claws.
talons because they don't have their hands or their wings, right?
The Dracarys is interesting because,
Yeah.
presumably dragons are immune to fire, at least somewhat.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
scales. But, we're not going on Daenerys Targaryen rules here. you can burn up Rhaenys.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
I think humans are very susceptible to the fire. Yes, now Targaryens, they can withstand a little more heat. Maybe they're a little more durable. And that's probably plays into how Aegon survives a little bit because he's a little more durable as a Targaryen. But you can still get burnt up pretty bad. It does damage. And it's painful. And as you saw, it's used as a way to, like, blind the rider, so they come out of the fire and they don't know where they are, or like they don't know where you've gone.
Or if
to.
you're just trying to hurt the flyer, the flyer, the flyer, or if you're just trying to hurt the rider because then it throws the dragon off. So then you're like, oh, if I just kill Rhaenys, the dragon will just be weird, but don't know where to go, and it'd be easier to catch.
Yeah, but losing both Meleys and Rhaenys, huge loss for the Blacks.
What is Rhaenyra's dragon?
Rhaenyra's dragon is Caraxes.
But that one was raised with
Not
her.
Caraxes, Syrax. Sorry,
that
Syrax.
one was raised with her. She
that
didn't
one was born and raised with her, yeah.
Where is Viserys' dragon?
Viserys' dragon was Balerion, and he's dead now.
Okay, never mind. Fuck.
He never got a new dragon after Balerion.
Viserys rode Balerion once and was like, I don't really
he's like, I would really hope that's not me, but I understand when some of them were like, I don't like. Corlys was like, I don't give a fuck.
I rode a horse once in my life. I'm good. So I don't think I have any desire to.
Now Vermithor is still alive, who is Queen Alysanne's dragon, who is Jaehaerys' wife. This is Daemon and Viserys' grandmother. That dragon, Vermithor, is still alive. This is the dragon we saw Daemon approach at the end of season 1.
It's that Dragonstone.
That Dragonstone. Very big, very old Dragonstone. Not as big as Vaghar. Nothing is as Vaghar was around from the Conquest.
OG, one of the original 3 in Westeros.
So Vermithor is still a very powerful dragon, and there are free dragons out there that have never been ridden before, but they are big and they are wild and they are dangerous.
Yeah. So this may be a quick pivot here as we wrap up into our power rankings. Which side of the Civil War's up? Who's down?
Okay.
Again, I've been using the highly scientific blur method. BLUR. B, blood. Now we got a lot of blood.
A lot of blood.
I mean, especially if you're Rook's Rest or
if you're Darkland, a lot of blood.
Darkland, man, we saw that head roll. Okay, not a Daemon imaginary head rolling. That was a real dude's head rolling.
Do you get like bonus points for blood if someone dies?
Yeah,
because I was like, Rhaenys technically is gone to the wind.
And you have to imagine. I was trying to do it. It's hard to have like a finite number on this, but. Feels like the Blacks, right? Like, because all of those battles Cole was winning before that battle at the end.
He's got a big army now.
I forgot.
Yeah, I mean, they were both gaining forces and killing a lot of the supporters of Rhaenyra. So I think you got to give the Greens.
The Greens are up on blood, for sure.
I think, though they suffered some pretty heavy casualties, including maybe their king there at the end. I think they probably did more killing than they got killed, right?
Right. Though taking down Aegon is a big blow to the Greens.
And also in like thinking about Rook's Rest as a smaller castle, right? They expended a lot of forces to get a small thing.
Though they have cut off Dragonstone.
Yeah.
Dragonstone's pretty much cut off from the mainland.
But being Sir Chris and Cole being able to take all those small ones, that's just like taking the small towns of Monopoly.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, it still adds to it.
Yeah, the light blues.
You still got to come around every turn, baby.
Those Baltics, you know what I mean? Those Mediterraneans. Now, the L in the blur rankings, lust. Was there any sex in this episode? For anybody even like...
The lust for battle?
Yeah, that was about it. It was a lust sex episode.
I think the lust here is Alice Rivers.
Yeah,
lusting
that's the close.
She has a very telling line about... She says something about like making your mark or creating an heir, and she touches her own womb in an interesting way. And she's definitely vibing on it. She's giving him the juice. And I don't just mean what's in the cup. I mean, she is throwing it out there.
Again,
we got it.
Never take a drink. Never take a drink from a witch in a leaky basement.
No.
That said, I bet that'd be fun.
I bet it'd be a fun time. I'm willing to wake up in the next meeting.
300-year-old lady? I mean, let's go. Let's see what kind of stuff she knows.
We also saw the consequences of lust, right? But she's drinking the moon tea.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, so maybe... Again, it's not a very lusty episode, but maybe you got to lean a little bit towards the Blacks on that.
I was lusting for Jason Bela. I love them as a power couple.
And they're always side by side
supporting each other.
Yeah, always side by side.
It reminds me of Corlys and Rhaenys.
Yeah.
I know.
He's like, where you been, Mom? Where you been, Mom? We've been had a tough time here, Mom.
Why is he so scrawny with that little hunch? He's like, Mom, where were you?
And she gives a very like, I'm sorry, I had to go on a very important adventure.
But it was
Guess who I met?
It's very cute how she talks to her actual child, like,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I was gone so long. I was
king.
just doing an important mission. Hey, guess who snuck into King's Landing? This lady.
They're all like, that was your plan?
It was. It was very much like when they learned about Eric's plan on the other side. They were like, you did what? You said one guy?
He said, circus. Trifling.
Trifling?
And I think that's a good, the unity, right? Which house is like, again, there's a lot of infighting on both sides. Right. But it feels like the blacks are kind of falling apart.
No, well, does it count as unity if you overtake and conquer towns?
I mean, but they're gaining forces. They've got more. The Greens have more houses under there.
But that's all due to two dudes who are planning separately from everybody else. And then the Green Council's having a meeting. Aegon's over. He's like, I'm bored, and he leaves. And they go, 1 second. Okay, let's keep talking. Like, there is no organization on the Greens.
Which family do you think has better unity?
I think the blacks have better unity only because, like, everyone in Rhaenyra's family is, like, on her side.
Yeah, 100%.
Alicent's family, the Greens, they're all over the place. Aegon's doing his thing. Aemon's doing his thing. Alicent's doing her thing. Otto, he's on his way back to Old Town. Yeah. Like, they're a mess.
Well, especially with Rhaenyra back.
Yes.
Right, there was chaos there for a while, but now that Rhaenyra's back, it seems like there's some unity.
Right.
Okay, so I'll give that to them. And then finally, R is Repartee. Who had the best lines? Ooh. Again, we already mentioned Alicent had some nice lines. Laris had some good lines.
Alicent.
I will say, Daemon is a character that doesn't get a lot of zingers.
Yeah.
But he had a couple. His little interactions with Oscar Tully, when he was like, my time is short and I'm in need of an army. Perhaps you might place a feathered pillow over his head and speed along your inheritance.
I mean, just like beautiful stuff. And I love the juxtaposition of like,
I love my grandpa.
I love he's out here being like, hey, you have to call me your grace. I haven't talked to my wife in a while, and I'm making decisions. And meanwhile, there's like this little kid. He's like, hey, can you just make a decision while your old grandpa does nothing? He's like, no, we don't do that in my family. And Daemon's like, let me talk to the black prince.
Also, then when he finally wakes up from his drugged up stupor, homeboy's like, I tried to smooch up your wife a while back, and he's like.
He's like, who the hell is this? And he's like, that's Lord Blackwood. You
asked me to come here.
You called this meeting. This could have been a raven. This meeting could have been a raven.
This meeting could have been a raven. That's why you got to stick around to minute 56 of our House of the Dragon after show to get this meeting. Could have been a raven.
Some good repartee. Damon's always got the good repartee. Alice Rivers had some good repartee.
She had some nice ones. I mean, thick accent. I kind of had to turn up the volume during her scene a little bit.
I think Corlys and Rhaenys had good repartee against the Black Council.
Yeah.
Corlys' line of like, you just grouse and claw for power.
I also love it. How many people in the Black Council just make an announcement as they're walking in the room? What are you saying? Like boom, 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 as they walk into frame. Everybody, they can hear what's going on out in the hall, and as walking in, they're like, "Don't say that to her," or whatever.
Number one rule for the Black Council is you start your sentence outside the room. It's the number one rule. You start your sentence outside the room and you finish it at the table. Jesus, number one rule. That all being said, Green's up.
Yeah,
Green's way up here.
I think you have, especially the end.
I mean, they lost their king. To what extent we don't know, but like Green's up. Black's
also
on the ropes.
Arguably the power move of the show so far.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a really good plan. It worked.
It worked.
So by the Blur algorithm, we're equal? Is 50-50?
Yeah, I mean, the system's rock solid and can't be fudged in any way.
Yeah, there's a silent I in Blur for intangibles.
Yeah, Greens.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I think you got to give this episode to the Greens.
What I do like most too about the way this episode played out in the book, it seemed like the plan was for both Aegon and Aemon to be there. That's kind of how it's described, the Battle of Rook's Rest in the book. I love this idea that Aegon showed up by surprise and things went crazy, and I think it works better narratively. I love how they did that here. Really good stuff. Yeah. Great battle. Daytime, too. Daytime battle. Oh.
Yes. Make sure to subscribe to that Breakroom. That's it for this episode, but we'll be back for every episode of House of the Dragon this season, and any season they decide to do this, goddammit.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, check out our coverage of Acolyte and the boys, also here on the Breakroom, and most importantly, have yourself a good day.
Bye.
Latest, Gators.